Our story is very special to us because it's about my daughter. And so she, in 2017, was diagnosed with autism. And so I dove into the research, and everything that I kept reading about was ABA therapy. I did a quick Google search to find the closest ABA clinic that we could to Brunswick, and there were none, not within a 90-mile radius. We got into a little place in Kingsland. Within 6 months, she was a different kiddo. She was making eye contact. She was using words to communicate. She was potty trained. So these were huge, huge victories for us. And so, again, dove into the research and tried to figure out what we could do to bring this to our community. In 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, we both quit our jobs. Dad was a dentist for 36 years, and I was a kindergarten teacher. So we took a leap of faith, and the rest is history.
Welcome back to another episode of the Southern Executive Experience. I'm here today with Laura Johnson and Larry Doherty. Laura, I recognize real well from home. She is my wife, and she's taught me into doing a podcast today. So here they are. And guys, why don't you start off by telling a little bit today about what y'all do and why y'all came today?
All right. So we are owners and co-founders and CEO and CFO and everything else at Light of Hope Learning Center in Brunswick, Georgia. Our story is very special to us because it's about my daughter. And so she, in 2017, was diagnosed with autism. I was a kindergarten teacher for 16 years. And so I had been around autism, but not a lot. And so I dove into the research, and everything that I kept reading about was ABA therapy. And in fact, the only therapy that was deemed effective by the Board of Autism was ABA. And so I did a quick Google search to find the closest ABA clinic that we could to Brunswick, and there were none, not within a 90-mile radius. And so I got busy. I called every clinic I could call and got her on every single waiting list I could get her on between Jacksonville and Savannah. And luckily, we got into a little place in Kingsland. Within 6 months, she was a different kiddo. She was making eye contact. She was using words to communicate. She was potty trained. So she was 3.5 at the time, which, those of you who have kids know that 3.5, usually they're talking and usually they're potty trained.
Mm-hmm.
So these were huge, huge victories for us. And so my family, my dad, and our friends were all like, what is this? And it's obviously working.
Right.
And so, again, dove into the research and tried to figure out what we could do to bring this to our community, because that, as a teacher, I knew there was a need. I saw it everywhere. In the classroom, I saw it at the preschool, and parents were desperate for resources. And so in 2020, I guess it was, we started working in 2017 immediately, or 18, I guess we should say. And 2 years later, we opened our doors in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. We both quit our jobs. Dad was a dentist for 36 years, and I was a kindergarten teacher. So we took a leap of faith, and the rest is history.
Awesome.
It's been an amazing journey for sure.
And y'all service kids throughout have autism, all different types of the spectrum, all different, I guess, levels of the spectrum. And
that is correct. So autism spectrum disorder is diagnosed on 3 levels. So you have level 1, level 2, level 3. We serve children on the autism spectrum through applied behavior analysis, and it's short ABA therapy.
mm-hmm.
And ABA therapy is, to put in layman terms, I could go into the scientific explanation, but it would be over all of our heads, mine included. It is done through play and positive relationships and positive experiences. And so what we saw with Mary Charles was that her confidence went through the roof,
Mm-hmm.
as well as her skills. And so just very powerful therapy for sure.
Awesome. Well, Larry, what did you originally, I guess you got you into the business? I guess your daughter and your granddaughter, but
Yeah, so taking her to Kingsland to have the therapy, we were at the point where my wife and I would tag team and take her down there, and saw the differences that what huge difference there was in her.
Right.
And so Laura and I just sat down at my dinner table one day and just said, you know what, we just have to do this. We have to help other parents who are going through the same thing that you're going through, and us as grandparents. So we sat down and just immediately just started digging in on trying to find somebody to give us an idea how to start this business, which, we pretty well would just took a leap of faith, and God led us through this whole thing. He's been in it from beginning to end. So we prayed about it, and we just started looking for a building, started looking for employees, because we found out that that's one of the hardest things that we've had to deal with in our businesses, is finding enough employees for the kids. We have plenty of kids.
Yeah.
But so we just decided we'd take a leap of faith, found a building, and went to the bank, and they helped us get started. And so
the rest is
this
history.
journey, the rest is history. We went from we outgrew our first building probably in a few months, 3 or 4 or 5 months. We saw that we just didn't have enough space for the number of kids that we were going to have in the clinic. So we expanded, and now we have 5,300 square feet under roof. And so we can talk a little bit about that too. We've kind of in a situation where we're going to try to find a smaller facility for us. We have the space, but finding the amount of staff that we need has been a problem.
I know that's tough with everybody these days as staff, and probably I know a little bit more about y'all's situation than probably most of my guests, but I know that the specialty degrees and things that you need to actually do ABA therapy, we just don't have those people down here in South Georgia, and that's kind of what we've realized.
Yeah, ABA is new to our area. It's not new to the United States. If you go up to the Northeast, ABA can be found literally on any street corner. It's easy to get your kid in. A kid gets a diagnosis of autism, the doctor will, tell them, write a script just much like we do here for speech or OT,
right,
or PT. But the way that it works with ABA here is that, people have never heard of it. They don't know about it. So therefore, we don't have therapists who are trained in this field.
Well, why don't you tell the listeners, what do you do to get started? If you think your kid has autism, what do you do?
Okay. If you think your kid has autism or you suspect autism, speaking to your pediatrician is really the best place to start. A pediatrician cannot diagnose a child with autism. You will need to go to a psychologist to have that diagnosis. Pediatric neurologists are also able to give a diagnosis.
Right.
But there again, finding these people in our community to do the diagnosing is next to impossible. We work closely with Dr. Walther's office here in town, who helps us, ensure that our clients are diagnosed, or, future clients hopefully are diagnosed. Whether they're clients of ours or not, we want these kids diagnosed.
Right.
And so a lot of times we get phone calls from parents who want their kids to be placed on our waiting list, but they don't have that diagnosis yet. And so then we'll send them to Dr. Walther's office to get that. And then from there, they're able to get the therapy they need, whether it be with us or someone else.
So once you get the diagnosis, then you have to go through a lot of other steps in order to get there. So it may take 2 to 3 months, maybe even longer to get going, to be able to get into actual treatment.
And that's if there's no waiting list.
That's if there's no waiting list, and then
therein lies the problem.
Right.
We have kids. Our community is in dire need. There are kids. I get phone calls probably 2 to 3 a week. Just me that I get, not our, office. Those are phone calls that are parents that are like, I really want to talk to Laura. I really want to talk to somebody. I've got more questions. And so, we get new clients on our waiting list pretty, frequently, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I've been in their shoes.
It's tough. So you mentioned a little bit about the clinical side of things, and you mentioned the BCBA. And how many BCBAs do y'all currently have?
We have 2 currently.
Okay.
And that is probably our number one struggle
Mm-hmm.
is finding board certified behavior analysts that want to live in our community, want to work in our community, that want to, leave wherever they are and move here. We have tried to grow BCBAs from within.
Mm-hmm.
We have been successful one of those 3 or 4 times. Unfortunately, they get offered more money in bigger cities.
Right.
And so they, will leave or, before they even finish their course, they'll leave Light of Hope. And so it's very frustrating. I think there is a need to educate the community on autism, ABA, and, what this job entails, because I think there are people here that would be great at it.
Right.
It's finding them, it's educating them and teaching them about the field and knowing, what the requirements are. And so hopefully by doing things like this, we can, get the word out.
Get the word. What are the requirements to be a BCBA?
So that's a really good question. Board certified behavior analysts have a degree in psychology or education, social work, and then they go on to get their master's in ABA therapy. And the master's course is, a master's course. It's time consuming and it's expensive.
Right.
But they also are required to do a really great amount of hours in the field. And that's probably the trickiest part is because most of the BCBAs who are going to school to be BCBAs are, people in the field that are going to be BCBAs are working in the field as RBTs full time. And
Right.
so just a backstory, RBTs are registered behavior technicians. They work one-to-one with the kids. And so the RBTs have a tough job. They're on the floor all day with the kids, playing, running up and down the hallways. They're on the playground. They may be dealing with behaviors that a child has escalated. And it can be a very exhausting job as an RBT. So imagine at the end of the day, you go home and you're just depleted. Like
Right.
you have given 110%, yet you feel like your kiddo didn't make any progress that day and you just kind of are beating yourself up. And then you have to go to school, so then they do all this work at the office, and then they go home to do their coursework. And so to become a BCBA is no easy feat. And so I think that's part of the obstacle too, is just the logistics of it.
Yeah, so it's kind of like in any business, it's kind of a tier of superiority, because you have the BCBA who literally comes up with a treatment plan for this particular child, how many hours they're going to need, what type of therapy they're going to need. And then the RBT that Laura just alluded to literally delivers the therapy for the kids.
Right.
And so you have the clinic part of the tier system is the BCBA. Look, she has to monitor the RBTs, what they're doing with the kids and all that sort of thing. So to be an RBT, you have to take a 40-hour course online.
Right.
High school graduate. So we see and employ a lot of people in their late teens, early 20s, probably is where they are.
Right.
So those people don't last in the industry probably less than a year when they'll be moving on to doing something else, because it is, like Laura said, it's
High turnover.
Yeah,
High
it's
turnover.
high turnover,
Yeah.
and that's across the country as we talk to other clinics around the country. So
75% is the turnover rate for registered behavior
Wow.
technicians
Wow.
across the United States, because it is a very tough job. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Well, you're working with kids with all kind of different needs, and some are more severe than others, so I can understand that. I can definitely understand that. Well, what are y'all doing? I know you said you have an issue with hiring the BCBAs. Or anything y'all are doing to kind of to help with that? Anything you're changing?
we've done everything we know how to do on Indeed and
Yeah.
doing all the social media stuff, but we really haven't gotten into hiring recruiters. Who our last 2 BCBAs are from Virginia.
Right.
So they moved their families and moved everything down to our area because everybody wants to stay in Atlanta for some for some
Big
odd
cities,
reason.
they get paid more.
That's right.
They make more money.
That's right.
We have decided recently to dip our toe into the virtual BCBA world.
Okay.
And so this is something that has been really hard for the two of us because from the very beginning, we felt very passionate about having our BCBAs in the clinic. We are clinic-based, meaning we don't go into home. And we don't go into daycares or schools unless it's deemed necessary for that child.
Right.
We have gone in home, we have gone in school, and we will go in daycare, but the other party has to be open to it. And that's the tricky part.
Right.
So I say all that to say we really are very passionate about having our BCBAs on campus, knowing that if there is an emergency, if there is a situation where a child is escalating, we have someone there available to assist. But the world is moving to a virtual-based everything.
Yeah.
And so while we do have two really great BCBAs in clinic, I think having one or two virtual is not going to hurt us. And so that's kind of where we stand right now. And we're actively trying to hire a virtual BCBA. We need like 5, but we'll take one. And so that's kind of where we are, branching out, if you will.
Gotcha.
So we have a great location right near the hospital, literally 3 lots there. So we've decided to kind of consider selling our building and moving to a smaller space because we may go into this virtual type therapy. It's an advantage to be in the clinic because you don't have any distractions, but you go into the house and then it's a different situation as far as getting therapy to the kids.
Absolutely. And y'all have an amazing facility. I mean, if anybody who's been in it knows it's state of the art, knows, it's beautiful. It looks like a miniature children's hospital. I mean, that's pretty much what it looks like. It's got, y'all got the murals on the walls. You've got multiple rooms and playrooms and gyms. And it's amazing facility y'all have.
And, it was a really tough decision to make that call on putting the building on the market. In a time where we have tried everything to, keep our doors open. We have, every penny that we make in this business, we pour back into the business. Dad and I do. And so I think it's been tricky because, we will be rocking and rolling, and we've got, at one time we had 4 BCBAs, and we were doing great, and we were like, okay, this is, we're going to be able to take on more kids. And then, life happens. Like somebody's dad got sick, and then, another BCBA decided to have a baby. And so it's very hard. It's hard on our business. You think you're good, and then you get knocked down, and then you get up, and then you get knocked down again. And that's literally what it's been like since day one. And we keep going because when God closes a door, he opens a window always. But putting the building on the market will allow us to still continue services for our kids. There will be no, interruption of services for them. We will be able to continue, hopefully in clinic and be able to do some virtual and maybe even go in homes and those kind of things and try things we've never done before. And so while change is uncomfortable, it can also be a really good thing.
For sure. Well, are there anything y'all are doing to kind of supplement the issues that y'all are having with BCBAs and billing and stuff like that?
Yeah. So just kind of backtrack a little bit. ABA is covered by insurance companies. AVA's law was passed in 2018, I believe, or 17. I can't remember. AVA's law went into effect stating that insurance companies had to cover autism services for kids on the autism spectrum.
Right.
And so this was huge because kids who originally never could afford therapy suddenly were given this huge opportunity. And so that's when ABA clinics kind of started popping up around areas. And that was about the time that we started, looking into it because Mary Charles was able to get therapy because of Davis Law. And so our kids, most of their therapy is covered by insurance. And so while we bill, we may say, hey, we're going to charge you this for the services. Insurance goes, nope, we're only going to pay you this.
Right.
And then any money extra just gets written off. We don't get paid that money. And so we're not getting reimbursed. Our rates are not great. So there's that piece of the billing, that's difficult. And then having the staff to be able to bill it out, to be able to, keep going that way. And so we're very fortunate. Our community has really rallied behind us the last, this will be our third year we're hosting an Autism Awareness Golf Tournament.
Awesome.
And so we have been very blessed by people who have poured into us over the last 3 years, supporting us with that golf tournament. So we're really excited about this year's tournament.
That allows us to have money for things that we wouldn't have money for, for the kids. So it all comes back to benefiting the kids. We have a 2,000 square foot play area outside for the kids, and we buy things like the sun sails and so forth. The sun won't be so hot on them during the wintertime, and games and activities, and just maintaining a building and maintaining all the things every business deals with. We can't increase our fees because we get paid what we get paid, and that's all we get paid. So
right.
It's hard to give bonuses or increased pay, which we'd love to do for everybody, but we're so fixed on what we're allowed to bill and what the payment's going to be for a particular service. So, but we deal mostly with Medicaid. That's our.
We also do a lot for extra for our kids. Like, kids who have autism, many of them are not able to go to school all day. Maybe they have, a shortened day. Like Mary Charles has, she was going to school half days and then at the clinic the other half. Some of our kids aren't in school anymore because of their behaviors. And so they come to Light of Hope. A large portion of our younger kids are not ready for school yet. They're not, whether if they are school age, they're just not ready behavior-wise. And so they don't have the school or daycare experience that a lot of kids have. And so we do that extra. We do the crafts, we do the science projects, we have the sensory bins, we do holiday celebrations, and we decorate our office, and we do all these things. And the golf tournament allows us to do that.
Right.
It gives us that extra, money that we don't get back from, insurance companies to do for our kids. And like I said, everything we get, we pour back into our staff and our kids. Our kids are our number one priority. Our staff are our second. But everybody's family.
Yeah.
And so the golf tournament, if I could say a few things
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
that, and
Yeah.
just say when it is, and we invite anybody and everybody that will participate. We'd love to have more golfers, but this year, like last year, is going to be at the Retreat golf course of Sea Island.
Awesome.
And we're fortunate enough to be able to play on one of their premier golf courses. But we have a 4-man scramble. We're going to tee off at 9:30 a.m. on April the 28th. And so we invite everybody to come and play, or just, donate something that we can use as prizes or whatever. Or we couldn't do this without the people in the community. Really, it's amazing every year how many people come out and just want to support our clinic and support the kids. And so we're not only just doing this for the kids, but we're doing it for the parents too. The parents, it's amazing. We have to have parent training for each child. So the parents are benefiting as much, or maybe sometimes even more than the kids, if you stop and think about it. So
absolutely,
having an autistic child in your house, but they come in and see how much the kid has improved, and they can continue that in the home of what our trained staff is teaching them to do. So we're so excited about the golf tournament. It's a big deal, and we had, I forget how many teams we had last year.
17
or 18 teams,
Yeah.
4-man teams. So being at a premier golf course on the island is huge. And we have people coming from Valdosta and different areas of the state just to help us out and play in the golf tournament.
That's awesome. I've been able to experience participate in it last year. The year before, I think I was a little under the weather, but it was a great event, and everybody had a good time. And everybody, I'm looking forward to doing it again this year. I know we are. So
there's a lot of ways to get involved. We have a silent auction, and so making donations for that, or purchasing tickets for the silent auction. We don't have many volunteer per se opportunities because we have a large staff that help at the golf tournament. But donations are huge, like lunch for the staff and or lunch for the golfers, and drinks and different things. And, there's so many ways that the community has really just jumped in and helped with those kind of things.
Yeah, so the golf tournament is 4-man scramble.
Yep.
$180 per golfer, which is reasonable to play. If you had to pay to play this golf course, it would be a lot more than that. If you,
for sure,
it's a private course, so you can't do that. So it gives people in the community an opportunity to play one of the best golf courses probably in the state or anywhere else, if you're familiar with Sea Island. So that gets exciting, and so we usually give some prizes back, first, second, third, some close to the pin and all those kind of things. So we make it as professional as we can. People just love coming and helping us out and playing in the golf tournament. So we had to change it this year to a morning tee-off time at 9:30, but that's going to be exciting to get people out and play one morning on a beautiful day at Retreat at St. Simon's.
For sure. Well, anybody who's interested, definitely reach out to them. We'll put the information here on the screen here in a second, and I'm sure that my guys can do that. And hopefully get some golfers and get some people interested. So, well, guys,
sponsors. We have opportunities for sponsorships too for the golf tournament that range anywhere from sponsoring a hole for $200 all the way up to $10,000, $15,000 sponsors. So again, our community has rallied behind us, and in the past 2 years, and we know this year's going to be even better. We're really excited about it. And so sponsorships are a huge piece of what, helps us bring that money back to the clinic to give to the kids.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank y'all so much for coming on. I know y'all have got some things to do after this, so I appreciate y'all's time. And hope you don't mind me saying you are the prettiest guest I've had so far on my podcast. No offense to anybody else, but you are the prettiest. Anyway, I will thank y'all so much, and we'll have thank everybody for tuning in to the Southern Executive Experience. Have a great day.
Thank you.